Behind these exhausted eyes lies the pain of knowing that youth will never return. This is not just a World Cup, it is the final farewell to the legends of this generation. Welcome to the definitive documentary about the end of an era. This is global history, facts about everything and everyone. There was a time when football wasn't dominated by cold statistics or billion-dollar tactical robots. In the early 2010s, the world witnessed the birth of legends. Time runs out, and it doesn't care about legacies. In 2026, youth is over. What you are about to see is not just a quest for a trophy. It is the final physical gasp of an entire generation playing against the clock. The stadium lights in America hide a cold reality. The technical peak of these men is already in the past. What cameras sell as genius today is, in truth, the Herculean effort of bodies crying out for rest. Every dribble, every sprint on the pitch is no longer an act of pure spontaneity. It is a painful battle against biology. The marketing machine wants you to believe they are superheroes immune to time, but the medical department tells a different story. The minutes leading up to the match are filled with painkillers, compression bandages, and the ghost of a career-ending injury. They know their own bodies have become ticking time bombs, and every 45-minute half could be the final chapter of their lives. The billion-dollar football market needs to maintain the illusion of invincible athletes to protect sponsorships and TV rights. But the reality behind closed doors is terrifying. It involves heavy injections before warming up and shock treatments in the locker room to mask worn-out joints. The fear of a muscular collapse on worldwide television is the secret nightmare that accompanies each of them until the opening whistle. Disconnect from the crowd's noise for a second and face reality. The end of this World Cup marks the closing of a golden era. The big question left in the air is not whether new stars will emerge, but whether the billion-dollar machine of modern football will allow them to have a soul. In a market that demands laboratory athletes and tactical robots to feed TV rights and sponsorships, the day after this tournament ends might be the first day of a sport that is giant in numbers but orphaned of its own essence. Facing this scenario, the questions that echo are inevitable. Who are the promising new faces of this new era? Has the World Cup lost its essence for good? And the greatest illusion of all, will any veteran manage to end their career on a high note and bring the trophy home to their country? The answers seem uncertain, but the true winner of this dance was already decided before the very first whistle. Stay until the end and we will reveal it. For the first time in history, the heart of football beats across three simultaneous territories. The United States, Mexico, and Canada opened their doors to the most colossal edition of all time. The new model has shattered the old borders and now features a true army of 48 national teams competing for the same gold trophy. The world will stop to see teams like Cape Verde, Curaçao, Jordan, and Uzbekistan step onto the sacred pitch of a World Cup for the very first time. The football world has never been so vast. But make no mistake, the tournament may have grown, the slots may have increased, but the weight of the jersey and the mystique of tradition still dictate the rules of the game. The trophy does not accept just any owner. In exactly 96 years of history, spanning 22 completed editions, the most coveted trophy in human history has rested in the hands of only 8 nations. An absolutely restricted elite. At the base of this pyramid of giants, Spain and England carry the pride of one world title each. One step above, South American tradition and European talent meet. Uruguay and France combine for 2 historic triumphs. Moving forward, we see Argentina flaunting its 3 stars on their chest. In the select group of 4-time champions, Germany's precision and Italy's fanaticism share second place with 4 trophies. And at the very top, looking down on everyone from the highest point, in the isolated and unattainable peak of the sport, Brazil remains the only 5-time champion selection on the planet. Yet, behind the romance of the flags and the emotion of the stands, a cold machine is operating at maximum speed. What you might not know is the truly absurd scale this event has reached. Pay attention to the facts that do not appear in ordinary broadcasts. The explosion of matches. The World Cup jumped from the traditional 64 to a staggering 104 matches. It is a surreal increase of nearly 40% in the volume of games, transforming this tournament into the largest and most exhausting television marathon ever seen. The new knockout stage. The bottleneck became much longer. A brand new phase was created, the round of 32. Now, to lift the trophy, the finalist teams will need to survive a true odyssey of 8 games in total, instead of 7. The human body will be tested beyond the limit. The record revenues. FIFA projected to bring in the astronomical figure of $11 billion in this cycle alone, definitively consolidating this edition as the most lucrative event in the history of world sports. The absolute attendance record. The official expectation is to sell over 5 million tickets, easily smashing the historic record that belonged precisely to the last time the United States hosted the World Cup, in 1994. The impact on host cities. Market estimates point out that the metropolises hosting the semifinals and the grand final, such as New York, New Jersey, and Dallas, will have a direct economic impact of around $2 billion each, moving tourism, hospitality, and consumption to levels bordering on the inexplicable. All of this gained this titanic proportion driven by an essential factor. Nearly 20 years ago, a crop of extraordinary young men, unknown at the time, emerged to rewrite what the world understood by football. But for us to embark on this time machine and see the rise of these football geniuses, I need to know if you are with us on this journey. Leave your subscription down below. It's quick, but for our production, it's worth gold. Already subscribed? Wonderful. Then turn off the lights because the tape of the past is about to spin. To understand the weight of this farewell in the 2026 World Cup, we need to go back to ground zero, to the exact moment when the trinity that monopolized the sport for the last 2 decades began to dominate the planet. The origin of Cristiano, Messi, and Neymar. Our journey begins by crossing the Atlantic straight to the steep streets of Madeira Island in Portugal. It was there that obsession in human form began to be forged. Cristiano Ronaldo was not born a predestined super athlete. He was a skinny boy from a humble family who helped sweep the streets of his neighborhood. At 12 years old, he made the most painful decision of his life. He left his home to try his luck in the Youth Academy of Sporting in Lisbon. He cried every single day, alone, dealing with prejudice against his strong accent and the ache of homesickness. When he was unleashed onto the world by Manchester United, the scenario was no less brutal. He was beaten without mercy by veteran Premier League defenders who would not accept the dribbles of that frail kid. But it was there that something clicked in Cristiano's mind. He decided he wouldn't be the victim. He transformed the pain and the anger into the greatest work ethic the sport has ever seen. He locked himself in the gym, training until after dark. He rebuilt his own body and his own mind, repetition after repetition, until he transformed into an implacable machine engineered to break every record in football history. Thousands of miles away, on the hot asphalt of Rosario, Argentina, history was writing a completely different script. If in Cristiano the world saw extreme sweat, in Lionel Messi it would witness silent genius. The blurry VHS tapes from Newell's Old Boys already showed an aberration. A tiny boy who dribbled past kids twice his size, with the ball almost magnetized to his left foot. But Messi lived through a cruel and invisible drama. He saw the game in slow motion, but his own body refused to grow. The physical gap between him and the other boys grew increasingly terrifying. It required Barcelona to make a blind bet, cross the ocean, and secure the future of that boy by signing a contract on a simple paper napkin in a restaurant. What happened after his debut was the annihilation of every defensive system known to man. Without needing brute force, using a remarkably low center of gravity and an alien intelligence, Messi hacked the physics of the game. He destroyed Europe's most complex tactics, often just by walking on the pitch. While the two giants were already taking shape in Europe, Brazil was manufacturing, on the coast of São Paulo, the heir to chaos. Neymar Jr. was not raised in laboratory tactical academies, but in the frantic futsal of hard floors and pure disobedience. He was a boy so thin, so undernourished and light, that every time he was fouled, coaches feared he had broken in half. In 2010 came the explosion. The mohawk, the inexplicable dribbles, packed stadiums all over Brazil just to see a teenager play. But the weight on his shoulders was inhumane. At 17 years old, he carried the absurd media pressure of being the new Pelé and rescuing the lost magic of the Brazilian national team all by himself. In a European football scene that was becoming increasingly physical and violent, defenders hunted Neymar. And his response was not to get stronger in the gym. The dribble was his weapon of survival. He became the last great artist to stand up against the rigid European system with authentic street football. Living proof that improvisation could still reign against chess-like tactics. Everyone knows the trophies and the billions these three moved. But there is a dark detail. If Cristiano, Messi, and Neymar were children today, they would simply be failed and summarily discarded. None of them would pass. But before you find out the detail that could have prevented the rise of our trio, we need to take a step aside. We must remember the other giants who also forged this generation. We are talking about an elite that wrote its own history with fire and fire. We see the inexhaustible mastery of Luka Modric. The maestro who defied the logic of time was the only man capable of breaking the Ballon d'Or hegemony of our sacred trio and carried modest Croatia on his back to the top of the world. The surgical precision of Kevin De Bruyne, Belgium's motor and the most brilliant brain in contemporary football, capable of seeing spaces on the pitch that not even TV cameras can capture. The tournament will also be the farewell stage for the revolution made by Manuel Neuer, the man who did not just defend Germany's goal, but reinvented the goalkeeper position forever. And what can be said about the absurd mystique of Guillermo Ochoa? A player who, every 4 years, flips a switch and transforms into a terrifying wall, becoming the nightmare of the greatest strikers on the planet in a Mexico shirt. We will have the final glimpses of the pure class of James Rodriguez, The classic number 10 who insists on keeping South American romance alive by dictating Colombia's tempo. And the lethal instinct of Harry Kane, who carries on his shoulders the suffocating weight of trying to restore glory to England. They did not need to beg for the world's spotlight. They built their own empires. They are unquestionable giants who lived in no one's shadow and who now, with their bodies claiming the price of so many battles, march with heads held high toward the final act. But football is unforgiving. Not all giants earn the last dance. Lewandowski fell early with Poland, and Griezmann was not even called up by France. For them, the global journey ended silently. Remember the secret? The inconvenient truth that the modern football industry tries to hide is that it would have murdered the careers of the three greatest players of our time. But remember that detail at the beginning of Cristiano, Messi, and Neymar's journeys that I mentioned? Today, the market has become an unforgiving factory. The scouting trials demand athletes with the biotypes of robots, tall, extremely strong boys, mapped by GPS since they were 10 years old. But if we go back in time and apply the rules of 2026, our great trinity would have been summarily discarded in the physical evaluations. Why? Because at 15 years old, Cristiano Ronaldo suffered from a tachycardia so severe that, without laser surgery, his heart would not have withstood professional sports. Lionel Messi had a severe growth hormone deficiency. Without an expensive treatment of daily hormone injections, he would have been swallowed up by the physical demands of the sport. And Neymar, in the youth academy, was considered an undernourished boy, so frail that doctors and coaches feared he would be broken in half in the first serious tackle. But these medical anomalies overcame the statistics only to fall, years later, into another trap. The ultimate irony is on the internet. The world wept at the call-up videos. But was it really a surprise? Reality goes beyond the theater. Before the first whistle, the script for the legends had already been written by $1 billion plan. Stay until the end and you will understand that their presence in 2026 goes far beyond football. $1 billion plan where these giants are merely pieces on a terrifying chessboard. While the giants prepare the ground for their farewell, the new faces are already poised to take control of the show. The world now talks only about the new machines engineered to reign. We see the overwhelming speed of Kylian Mbappé, the relentless hunger for goals of Erling Haaland, and the unstoppable boldness of Vinicius Jr. They are the new phenomena, shielded by marketing and ready to inherit the top of the world. The football machine never stops spinning, and the crown is already searching for a new owner for the coming decades. Leave it in the comments. Which of these stars do you think will truly dominate football from now on? Or do you believe the next ruler of the world isn't even on this list? Remember how we said at the very beginning that the true winner of this dance had already been decided before the very first whistle? Well, here it is. The truth is that expanding the World Cup to 48 teams and 104 matches was never about including more countries. It was a corporate trap calculated to squeeze the last drop of energy out of these veterans. They are the most expensive puppets in history, lined up only to hold the world's gaze and validate an inflated spectacle. The system always knew their physics would degrade under this absurd workload over time. But the suits do not care about the health of legends or the romance of a farewell. They needed these giants on the pitch, at the limit of their strength if necessary, to achieve an outrageous goal. The target was never the trophy, it was always the pocketbook. The farewell of the greatest names of the century was used as bait to break the absolute record of $11 billion in revenue. In the end, the grand winner we defined back then is not a nation, but the system itself. And the heroes you idolize are merely luxury slaves to a machine that profits from their final sacrifice.
between the emotion, the fans, the greed, the love, and the anger.
There is an invisible fuel that finances and drives it all. If it weren't for the money, the grand scale of these stories would never exist. But now, with the stage set and the billions guaranteed, the only question that remains is, who will take the final glory? The chessboard is ready and the final sacrifice has begun. Leave it in the comments, which of these legends will you miss the most when the tournament ends? And who are you betting will actually take the trophy home? Producing content with this level of depth only makes sense because we have an audience that rejects the shallow and demands the truth. If you value this perspective, subscribe and join our mission.